Well, our Cuse Connections Olympic series rolls along. Again, we go halfway around the world. Brian Higgins here in Syracuse, just outside Tokyo, is British rower and 2017 Syracuse graduate Hattie Taylor. Hattie, great to see you, and this has got to be the thrill of a lifetime to be over there right now.
Yeah, it's really surreal actually. I mean, we've been here, I think this is only our second full day now, and it's still like hasn't quite hit me, but I think when we head into the village tomorrow, that will be that will be when it finally becomes really real.
Yeah, you guys at home, wherever you are right now, will be watching this a little bit closer to when Hattie's race is. We're talking about a week before the opening ceremonies right now. She is Friday morning right now outside Tokyo. And what's this been like? Obviously, you thought you'd be there a year ago, and we all know what
Mm.
happened. The whole world turned upside down. How did this last year kind of transpire for you to, one, have to re-earn your spot on the team and then be over there right now?
I think honestly, I think it was obviously hard. Like it was tough having everything postponed, but I think obviously it was the right decision, and we wouldn't have wanted to have done it any other way. Going through the training, going through the motions again, and the trials and the testing was all. I mean, it was difficult, but it was almost. I think because the whole team, like the men and women, is quite a young team. So I actually think, in hindsight, if you'd asked me this a year ago, I would not have said this, but now you're asking me, it. I actually think it's done us a world of good. Like I think we're much more prepared to race. We've got another year of training under our belts. Um, three out of the four people in my boat, including me, it's our first Olympics. So I think an extra year of training has been no bad thing, even though it was obviously quite stressful, having to retest and retrial and do all of that. It's I think it's not been a bad thing, and I think we're really ready to get going. And obviously we've been waiting a long time to get started, so looking forward to it.
Hattie, take me through the mental side of that because a year ago you had said it. You tested out as good enough to be an Olympian, and you think you're going, and then you have to pass the test again. I mean, you're right. Something could have happened in the last year. Somebody maybe comes out of nowhere and gets better than you, or who knows what happens. So, what's the mental side of that to stay sharp and still be as good as you were a year ago?
Yeah, it's very up and down. Obviously, like I think people were so excited, and then suddenly to be selected last year, and then it was down again when everything got postponed, and we were sent home from the training center for it was March to September. We were training at home from for so it's quite a long time. But mentally, I actually think it was almost better in the sense that once we started training again in September, we were sort of like, okay, well, this is just how it is. We'd almost had like a cheat sheet from the year before, so we knew what was coming, we knew what we had to do, and also with the like how unsure everyone was with that even 2021 was going to go ahead. I think it was like nobody was looking too far in the future, so it was very short term goal, very just like, okay, get this month done, get the next month done. You almost couldn't stress yourself out by looking too far because you didn't know what was going to happen, which I think made everyone a bit calmer. But then the March to September time when we were training at home, that was pretty rough on the old mental state, I think, because everyone was obviously so excited, and then the thought of having to do another year was just pretty horrendous, to be honest, for a lot of people. So that bit was pretty bad, but then once we got going again, we were just like, well, this is what has to happen. So it was almost better in a weird way.
Let me toss this out there for you, Hattie. I don't know if this is for sure true, but I'm sure you can fill me in on this. When I think about your sport in rowing, the first country that comes to mind where it would be the most popular is yours, is England, is
Mm.
Great Britain. Is that true? Am I barking up the right tree here?
Yeah, no, you are. I think there's like obviously this big old legacy with rowing in Great Britain, and on the men's side, it's definitely a really big thing, and that's what we're trying to start for the women's side as well. The women's eight got a silver in Rio, and that was a first British eight that had medalled at Olympic Games, women's British eight. And obviously the women's pair has been really successful for a few years, Olympics. And now we're going to try and do the same in the women's four. So it's not like catch up with the men, but it is definitely like rowing is like a very big thing from school to clubs, like big club involvement, big school involvement, right up to the senior team. So we are trying to women's sweep, sort of trying to create our own legacy in a way.
So, Hattie, about the fours, this being essentially the first time it's ever been in the Olympics, and literally only once before for the women, and the women and the men now have the same number of races and the same number of boats. What's this mean here? That it's all even up, and you guys have a chance to make history here in the fours.
Obviously very exciting. Like, it's really cool to be a part of the first Great British Women's Four, and like I always forget that that is the case. And when you just reminded me, I was like, oh yeah, actually that's really exciting and really cool. And almost, I mean, it does matter how well we do, but like I'll always be a part of that first four, that race at the Olympics, and also just in general, like the gender equality that's now at the Olympics is just. I mean, it's sad that it's taken this long, isn't it? But it's just really cool that it's finally here, and I'm very happy and honoured to be a part of the Olympic team that has achieved this finally. And I can always say, "Oh, I was part of the team that was first, equality for men and women at the first games."
For our novice rowing viewers out there, Hattie, if you could explain some things. I actually got to go to the 96 Olympics and saw some rowing, and you see the boats going by real
Oh, cool.
fast, and, that's
Yeah.
pretty cool. But tell us what the difference is. For Syracuse rowing observers, we certainly know about, you talk about the varsity eights, and maybe that being what you're trying to get done. What is the difference, other than there being fewer people in the boat, than the eight and the four at the Olympic level?
Um, so eight and the four. So yeah, apart from obviously the number of people in it, the eight is probably is I mean is significantly quicker. It's probably about 20. We'll get down the track about 25 seconds quicker, 20 seconds quicker than a four will. It's like a very big, powerful, strong boat. There's a coxswain who leads it, so he or she does the calls, steers the boat. Is pretty much in charge. But with the four, there's no coxswain. It's just the four of you, and it's like much more communication within the boat. So there's one person. It used to be me. It's not me. Not really me anymore, because we switched it up a bit. But there's one person who does the majority of the calls, so they're sort of in charge. Like I'll do the race calls during the race, so I'm sort of telling my crew like when to go, and like reminding them of some like technique stuff and whatnot. So see what I can get out during the race, basically. But four is also like a lot smaller, a lot lighter boat, so it's like got a lot. I don't want to say you need a lot more boat feel, but like you need to be able to move a smaller boat. Like it's a lot twitchier, bit more technique element to it rather than just sitting in an eight and like just putting down the power. I mean, both boats are great. Like I've raced in both boats, and they're both awesome, but just slightly different. And
All
the
right.
four is probably my favorite.
Okay, so you're in your favorite, so that's pretty cool, and
Yeah,
that'll be
yeah, it's
good
cool.
good stuff for us to keep in mind when we're watching. So it's not just waiting to the finish line and see who gets there
Yeah,
first. Get a little technique out of it. Addie, take
yeah.
us into the Olympic experience. You said you're moving into the village tomorrow. For you, your first race starts the day after the opening ceremonies, and then the other side of the coin is we know Japan is reasonably locked down, give or take, again because of COVID. So how is all of this playing out for you over there when you're trying to enjoy the whole Olympic experience, but maybe you don't get to quite do, besides racing, everything that you would have wanted to do?
Yeah, I mean, I think like earlier in our chat, I said it doesn't feel quite real, and I think it's because we haven't really been like we went airport, bus, hotel, and we've just been shipped back and forth to like our training center. So really, the most we've seen of Tokyo is just sort of driving through the streets and seeing the like the Japanese street signs, and I was like, oh, okay, oh, we're in Japan. And I think it is a shame, obviously, but I think we knew this coming in. Like it's not going to be like a real Olympic. Oh, it is a real Olympics, but it's not. We won't be able to spend the week here afterwards, like getting to see other sports and going out and meeting the other people. Like it's all quite restricted. The Olympic ceremony, opening ceremony, I think is happening, but we won't be going. The closing ceremony obviously is happening, but we won't be going. I mean, it's very different, but it's not anything that we hadn't thought was going to happen. Like it was there was almost more focus on the restrictions and everything, and obviously we wouldn't want to come to Japan and and bring anything with us or like endanger anyone here. So everyone's very respectful, obviously, of that, and people are keeping a very close eye on us and what we do. And that's all the teams, not just Great Britain. But
hopefully it's a successful week for sure. I want to ask you about the Syracuse aspect, because we're trying to talk to as many of our 7 Syracuse Olympians, and so proud of all of you guys. Over there, I had a great conversation with a Canadian basketball player, Kayla Alexander, the other day. I know Canadian pitcher Jenna Kyra's over there, and on and on. What's it like for you to represent Syracuse over at the Olympics?
Oh, it's so cool. It's just so exciting to be able to be a part of the 7 alumni. It is 7, isn't it? Because I thought it was 5, and then you emailed saying it was 7, and I was like, oh great, even more than I thought. Like, so exciting. And I really wish that we could all sort of meet up and have like a Cuse alum photo or something, you know, a little hangout or something, but obviously that can't be the case. But it's just great. It's so cool to be part of that. And Syracuse is such a big sporting school, and I'm really proud to be able to sort of carry that on and be representing Syracuse out here in Tokyo.
All right, yeah. Hattie. Let me know about your race here. We got the women's 4. It's coming up here. What boats are you looking out for? What other countries are in your rear view? What do we need to watch when we see you in your boat?
Well, we have so it's slightly different because we obviously haven't seen most of the boat. Like, normally before you go to the Olympics, you'll have raced pretty much everyone that's going, but because like our World Cup races, which are the sort of run-in races every year, they basically only European countries were there. So we've raced the Dutch a couple of times. They've won. They're quick. The Irish are quick. We've raced them. They both beat us at Europeans, and then the Dutch beat us at our second World Cup in Lucerne. And then the US are going to be fast, but we haven't seen them yet. The Aussies are like double world champions. Haven't seen them yet, so they're going to be quick. Basically, everyone's going to be fast, but we don't know. We've only seen half of them, but it's sort of like it's almost kind of good because you're kind of going into it just with nothing to lose, because we know we hope we've gotten some speed in the past month when we've been in training camp before this. So we think we've got a bit of speed, but then obviously you don't really know what anyone else is doing. But it's almost quite nice because you can just be like, well, we know they're going to be fast, and we can't really put all our attention on them. So we're just going to be really internal and just focus on what we're doing and think about us getting quicker. And it's sort of just like, it's sort of a bit of a like grand reveal next week in the heats, because that will be the first time everyone's seen everyone racing together. So we'll see how we sort of stack up compared to everyone else.
All right, Hattie. Last thing I can tell you this: the last orange women's rower in the Olympics was Natalie Mastracci for Canada. She did 2 games, 2012 and 2016. She got the silver in the Canada 8 in 2012, and she was still in school at the time. She was walking around campus with that thing in her purse. So, you have any idea what you do with the medal if you do get it in your hands here in a couple weeks' time?
Oh well, touch wood, we get one. What would I do? Actually, I'd probably put it in a safe at my parents' house or something, and I'd be too scared to do anything with it.
All right.
Hide it very well.
Well, hopefully when we next talk, you've got your medal locked up there. Great to see you, and best of luck coming up here in Tokyo.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.